Hey, Slanish Devotee here, trying out the new Apoka warlord from the Overrun Warpack. This is Liatha, the Dark Eldar assassin. So her warlord ability allows me to use any card as a 2 shield card, but then there's a bit of a bluffing game that my opponent can call my bluff potentially. As you can see, I'm just going over the planets here, looking at what we've got. And there's a lot of red and blue, not much green. So we'll see if I've got a bit of a rush there or not. I'm playing a guy named No Frag Limit who's using Vezual, which is good to see. You know, deep strike's always interesting, Marine's always a bit tough. So my initial thought was I've got Archon's Palaces here, which is great. I've got Murder of Razor Wings, which is also great. I've got the Apoka card, Supply Line Incursion, so I'm thinking I can exhaust his supports if he's got some. And then I don't have many units, but I've got a few bits and pieces. So he puts out an Honoured Librarian to start, 3 cost for 4 attack and 2 hit points. And its ability means I can't hit it if there's something else at the planet, so I'm assuming there's going to be something else at the planet or his warlord. So I wasn't sure if I'd throw the Razor Wings in as a sacrifice, but in the end I decided I would. The Razor Wings have no command, 1 attack, 1 hit point, can't take attachments, but their reaction causes him to discard a card, which turns out to be Tense Negotiations, which means he can't trigger a battle ability as easily as he might have. So that's alright, I feel okay with that. I'm thinking between my 2 shield cards and Suffering, I should be able to neutralize the Honoured Librarian before it can hit my Razor Wings, and we'll see if I can do something to stop him, or if the Razor Wings effectively become a bit of a sacrificial lamb on Planet 1. I'm considering committing to Planet 1, but I'm not 100% sure at this point. Still thinking through exactly where do I want my warlord to go. I'm not sure where to put this warlord, you know, like what is the best thing to do with her. She doesn't need to be in combat, which is interesting. So he puts a Rogue Trader on Planet 1, so he's got another command icon and a bonus resource icon, and so I place Suffering onto the Honoured Librarian. It's a 1-cost attachment that reduces the attack of the attached unit by 2. So now the Honoured Librarian is a 2/2 that I can't target, so that's a little bit better. I'm going to have to declare the Rogue Trader as a defender first at the moment. So yeah, the Warlord can be going off down the line, which is quite nice. Yeah, he says he's done. He's got 3 resources left, so I'm thinking he's probably got Drop Pod Assault, he's probably got some other interesting marine tricks. He's definitely won the command on Planet 1 because the Razor Wings have no command. He says really bad, so he might not have got the best mulligan. So Archon's Palace is a for sure thing to do there. I can negate his resources that he's going to get a bonus from the Rogue Trader. I can negate that. And then I may as well put out the Bloodied Reavers. And I decide to put them onto Planet 2 just to pick up some command. I'm thinking if he goes to Karnath, they've got a decent chance of hurting his Warlord before he can trigger the planet ability. And I consider doing Raid, but in the end I decide, no, I'll just commit and I'll go to Planet 3 to pick up cards. I'm thinking I want more cards. I'm thinking I want heaps of cards that I can use as shields, is basically my thought here, if we're going to Aluith on Planet 3. And I'm expecting him to probably go to Planet 2, but it could be anywhere down the line. I don't think he'll bother going to Planet 1. Although if he thinks I'm going to Planet 1, he might be worried. Taris is Planet 1, I believe. It's Taris. And obviously we've both got the exact same number of units, and if either of us win that planet, we'll have more units than the other person, you know. So very tricky. If he goes to Planet 1 with his Warlord, he might be able to win the planet and still have less units than me. But no, he goes to Planet 3. So their Warlords are squaring off, which is actually kind of perfect. So I cancel the resource bonus from Taris. I get the bonus on Karnath, and nobody gets the bonus on Eluith, which is great, really. So he takes his card. I draw a couple of things. I get a Clavix Warlord, which is fantastic. I've got nowhere near enough resources for it at the moment, but it's a good card to have in my hand. It helps me feel a bit more confident. He's just going to check if the Archon's Palace cancels the Rogue Trader. I know it does, so I'll just skip past this conversation. Okay, and then after the conversation there, he does have another Tense Negotiations, unless that was the card he just drew, the one card he got. So he decides to trigger that and get himself another search for another card. He's hopefully looking for something that he's going to find useful. You know, he's trying to make up for that bad mulligan that he took. So he's getting as many cards as he can. He drew the top three instead of searching the top three. So a little bit of a muddle. It's not the end of the world. This is a bit of a casual. He's playing a warlord that he didn't even know exist at the time. So, you know, we'll just sort of accept these things. So he threw them onto the table, and I was going to just say discard the two that he didn't want, or put them the two at the bottom, and I would basically trust him. But I'll just skip over until how we solve this one. Okay, so he put them back, shuffled, and then searched properly. That'll work out just fine. So he's got rid of his Tense Negotiations, and we're on to Taurus. Combat actions at Taurus. So he has the initiative. And we'll just see if he is going for that yet. I don't think he's got anything that he'd want to do on Planet 1. He's still very likely to kill the Razewings. He says it's my action, which I'm sure it was his. Maybe he's thinking of the Tense Negotiations being his action. Doesn't really matter, that's fine. I have no actions, he has no actions, and so he swings with the Rogue Trader, which is very interesting. If he'd swung with the Honoured Librarian, I still would have had to swing at the Rogue Trader, so I'm not sure why swinging with the Rogue Trader first, but that's fine. So he swings there. Check that he's still got no actions, which I'm pretty sure he won't have anything. Yep, no action. And so I swing with the Razewings at the Rogue Trader, see if I can kill the Rogue Trader. Might as well. It's all I can go for, and I don't want him to get resources, so I don't really mind swinging at it. And he uses up an Exterminatus to defend the Rogue Trader, which is probably not a terrible idea for him. I don't think many Dark Elf... Well, I suppose Kith might build up quite a few units on a planet down the line. But anyway, he swings for 2 with his Honoured Librarian, and I use my copy of Raid as a shield card. I haven't used it yet. It's a limited card, and I thought, no, that's fine. I'll throw that out as shield. See if I can get the Razorwing to do some more damage, or actually, I wouldn't mind if he flipped it, and then I would, because it is a 2 shield card, I get a unpreventable damage I can assign out, and I'd actually probably use it to kill off the Honoured Librarian. I could ping the Warlord, so that's also a potential thing I can do with it. So I'm just explaining to No Frag Limit how it works. It's a little bit wordy, but it kind of it becomes a bit more intuitive as you go on, but there we go. He says he wants to flip, but I'm just going to complete the explanation to make sure. Alright, so flip it over. It's a 2 shield card, so I'm going to put 1 damage on that Honoured Librarian. I'd like to kill it off. I'm thinking maybe I should have gone for the Rogue Trader, killed off the Rogue Trader by itself, and then I could have, you know, possibly used another shield card to try and survive the Librarian and hit it some more, but that's fine. 1 damage is out there. So, Liatha's bluff worked out. Now, as far as I can tell, it doesn't cancel the shielding effect when that happens, so it's still 2 shields that have gone off, because it is a 2 shield card anyway, but I'm not sure. I hope so. I believe that's the case. Alright, so we all ready at Taras? And we're both staying. This time he swings with the librarian first, and so I decide, alright, I will... Oop, and I drop the Archon's Palace onto the table there. I was trying to get the right button for Octagon, so if you click the card and then press Shift as you drag it out, it goes face down, but it wasn't working for me. There we go, Shift, and there. And unfortunately for him, this looks like I've dropped a card out, put it back, and then tried again, so he had to be like... And I know he probably felt like he was in a tough situation, and he was, and I just feel really bad because I really hate doing that sort of a thing. It looks like a double bluff that I'm trying to trick him, and yeah, I don't like it. But I was thinking, I don't get the bonus attack out of it, so if he'd have called my bluff on it, that would have sucked. But also the Archon's Palace is unique, so it was absolutely clogging up my hand, so I may as well use it. If it had been another 2-shield card that I could have used to ping the librarians with, and then kill off the rogue trader with the swing of the razor wings, would have been wonderful. But either way, the razor wings are still alive, so I'll get another swing at the rogue trader. Tough decision for him, but he uses his signature event, one of his 2 copies of the signature event, to shield the rogue trader. He wants to make sure he's getting some resources, which is fair enough. And then he will swing with the rogue trader for no effect at all. And yeah, someone watching, Camel B 1988, mentions the razor wings are fighting much harder than previously, and I feel like this is, you know, the Urian kind of has a way of denying your opponent cards and using his cards and discarding his cards. Kith overwhelms with lots of small damage everywhere, so you can't really survive all the hits that you're going to take. Morn is able to build up huge amounts of resources and use all those resources, and there are ways to choke the resources of your opponent, obviously, but I feel like this is sort of the opposite of stopping your opponent being able to deliver damage. It kind of fits in with that suffering theme of just all their attack points suddenly seem to be quite worthless, because even my little units and things are surviving stuff. 2 shields makes quite a big difference, especially when any card in my hand can be used that way. So I think it's an interesting theme. He does manage to win Taras, so he now has 1 green and 1 red icon, but that's all. There we go. So we go on to a battle at Taras. Aluith. His tense negotiations means he exhausted his warlord, even though he would have had initiative, so I get at least 1 free swing in. He uses a deep strike attachment, the Valkyrie pattern jump pack, to shield. And I basically decide I think that I'm going to stay anyway, I think. But he leaves. He's not confident that he's got enough to do it, which is fine. I've got, I think, 1 more hit point than he does, so I've got a little bit extra there. And I go to search. Solarite would have been nice. Signature event would have been cool, but I want another 2 shield card to be able to ping him if he calls my bluff, and or to be able to reduce the attack of... I could completely neutralize the Honored Librarian and make it an utterly worthless card. Well, I suppose it would be a command hammer, but that's tempting me. Completely neutralizing the forces that he's managed to put onto the table. But that's the end of the first turn, and so we move on to turn 2. And I've pulled Colosseum Fighters and my Liatha's Retinue signature unit. I've got Colosseum Fighters in this deck because I've got so many 2-shield events, and my thought process was, if I use them as events and I use the Colosseum Fighters, I can pull them back and use them as shields again. Basically. so I can get double duty out of them, hopefully. So that's what they're there for. Suffering, I'm really tempted to put it out onto the librarian. Really tempted. I'm thinking about what's in my discard pile and realizing it's not events, so I don't really want to use my Colosseum fighters yet. Clivex is an ambush unit, so I don't want to put him in yet, although if I can ping another point of damage onto something, I can Clivex in and kill something off with it, which would be really nice. And the retinue, you can get in for free if you use them as a shield and then your bluff is called. They get to come into play at a planet, exhausted, as long as there's no battle going on there, which is really nice. You can just get them in for free. So I decide, you know what, I am not going to do anything in this deploy phase, which is dangerous. He's going to be able to set up quite a few different things, which I'm not, but at the end of the day, I didn't want to use any of those cards yet. So he's put something into reserve at Planet 1 Karnath opposite my Bloodied Reavers, which is a little bit concerning. It's going to have something going on that first planet. We've just got to wait for him to move through whatever else he wants to do as well. He's got another card in reserve, also at Planet 1. I decide I'm just going to go right the way down to Planet 5, get a few more resources, make sure I have the ability to use all the various events and things like Clivex that I have. He puts everything onto Planet 1, so I'm going to block resources again. I was thinking also, fair enough, he decided to go there to get some resources, although carrying those units he might not have in his warlord train, but still I would have hopefully negated the resource bonus there. I don't want him to be able to put stuff out basically at this point. But that means I have heaps of resources, which is great. So now I'm looking at potentially throwing in Clivex to Planet 1, killing the Honoured Librarian, swinging at the Warlord. It's going to depend what cards come out of reserve here. 8th Company Assault Squad, 3 cost, even with the Deep Strike value is 3 cost, 1 command, 3 attack, 3 hit points, and when it comes out of Deep Strike, you ready a Space Marine unit. So he readied the Honoured Librarian. Vezual's Hunters, 2 cost with the Deep Strike bonus, 1 command, 2 attack, 2 HP. When they come out of Deep Strike, they do 2 damage to a target army unit. So I decide I will... got to get it to work, there we go, shield 2 damage of the Bloodied Reavers. And I'm hoping he calls it, because I can then ping off the Librarian and kill it off. So he does, he calls it. I pull it back over, and it is a 2 shield card, my friend, so let's kill that Librarian off completely. I know it wasn't necessary, that probably wasn't the best use given the attack strength of the assault squad and stuff, and I nearly put it into my discard pile, but I don't think I meant to. I think it's still out of play because it said to put it out of play, but it doesn't say that it's returned to play, so I've kept it over on the side there. So that's fine. Now, but my other thought was actually I should have put that damage onto the assault squad, because then I could have brought in the Clivex and killed the assault squad when they came in, whereas now the Librarian's dead. I've got nothing wounded at this planet and I have to survive a hit, which, there we go, is 3 attack onto my 2 hit point unit. So I needed to survive a hit to be able to get the Clivex, get some wounds onto something, so the Clivex comes in. He calls my bluff again, which is a shame. That means the unit's going to die, and I can't use the Clivex's effect. So I should have thought ahead. Obviously using that that 2 shield ping thing is really, really good for setting up for Clivex. Really should have used it. But anyway, I put the retinue into play exhausted at the next planet, ready for the next battle. There are 3 attack, 2 HP, so could be helpful. So, I don't want to use my ambushing here. We'll just leave it at that. So he's won the battle at Karnath, and he gets to choose one of the other battle abilities on display. He decides to rout my retinue, send them back to HQ, which actually seems fair enough. When I've only got 1 unit in the planet array, Farron becomes really potent there. Okay, so now he's up to 2 red, 1 green, 1 blue. I'm really going to need to start thinking about stopping him at different planets, particularly Aatrox Prime, because that'll be a win condition for him for red. And I've got nothing left to be able to rout him, because he's got nothing in the planets. Alright, on to turn 3 straight away. I've got 1,000 cuts and a flayed skull slaver. There's another resource planet, which made me go, I've been doing a good job of stopping him having options with the resources, so I want to kind of cover those planets down the end if I can. But by stopping him getting resources, I'm sitting at 12, which is pretty darn nice. Pretty good indeed. He throws out a rogue trader right down the end onto Osis, which now is a 3 resource no card bonus planet for him, so I'm pretty likely going to use Archon's Palace on that. I decide to put out the Flayed Skull Slavers, and I was going to put them on Farron and get heaps of resources, but actually they've got a decent body and a decent attack. Not great for 3 cost, but I still so I put them further down the array to a planet where we're actually going to need to fight. So hopefully that'll help me out there. And he beats me on command there with Veteran Brother Maxos, 3 cost, 2 command, 2 attack, 3 HP, but unique, and also he can pay the cost of any Space Marine unit in his hand and put it at the planet. I decide to put the Colosseum Fighters onto Planet 1. They're no command, I don't have any events in my discard pile, but I just want to have some body there. In case he decides to go to a different planet, I will win Planet 1 automatically, or he'll have to put some investment into it. But he's only got 1 resource to put that investment in, so I'm feeling positive about that. Colosseum Fighters, no command, 1 attack, 2 HP, 2 cost. After they get deployed or into play, I can't remember which, they take the top event from your discard pile back to your hand. So if I'd paid to use 1,000 cuts, for example, that would have been really useful to pull it back. Although it never enters your discard pile. Maybe I can swap them out. Maybe they're not as useful as I thought. He puts a card into reserve on Planet 2, and then I am done, and so is he. And I decide to go to Planet 2 in the hopes that I get to trigger the resource bonus of my Flayed Skull Slavers. But I'm fully expecting him to go to Planet 2 as well, which will negate that, but we'll see what we get. Planet 2, and he goes to Planet 1, which is actually fantastic. That means I get to set up here. I block his resource bonus. I win the resources from Aatrox. That means he does get his Rogue Trader resource. But still, that's not a lot of resources for him, so I'm pretty happy with that. I forgot to get my bonus 2 resources from a red planet for my Flayed Skull Slaver, so I get that. There we go. Alright, I pulled the Visions of Agony, which was quite a nice one. I can have a look at what he's got, and I can make some decisions about what options he's going to be allowed to keep. Alright, so he's basically going to be able to kill... He's drawing my cards out. He's going to kill the Colosseum Fighter, so first I just want to see... Yep, he's done, and I want to see what options he has. There we go. So, what has he got today? Let's see, he has a drop pod so he can bring in units, big elite terminators from Deep Strike, big area effect elite, Indomitable, that's frustrating, and the 3 shields of Fulgaris, and a Honoured Librarian. So he's got 2 good defences here, which are worrying me because I want to be able to get some wounds through for Clivex. I deciding that Fulgaris is more flexible. I don't want him to be getting the deep strike bonus HP and stuff on his wall, because I've seen that get really, really nasty. So that basically I know he has an Indomitable, and he's probably going to use it. But still, there we go. Right. The warlord takes a swing, and I decide I'll give a real basic. I'll use the 1 shield as a 1 shield so that I definitely survive the hit. I could have used it as 2 shield, but then if he'd have called my bluff, the unit would have died. So I think that was a better choice there. Now I get a chance to cause some damage that might be able to be used for the Clivex, and then I've got a 2 shield that I can always try and use for bringing out the Clivex as well. He takes the damage, so I decide, in we go, kill off that unit. He didn't use his Indomitable there, but he probably will next. So I'm thinking, do I want to hit the warlord? There's no healing planet, so I can start trying to assassinate the warlord, especially if I can draw some more 2 shield cards, because then if he calls my bluff, I can start pinging the warlord, bloodying the warlord potentially. There's the Indomitable. I'm considering 1,000 cuts to kill off one of the rogue traders, but he readies before I can really sort of finish my thoughts, and that's fine. I'm like, yep, okay, well I don't then. And now, does he stay? He does, and I decide to stay as well. I know he's not got the shields. Well, I suppose he does have a 2 shield, but he doesn't have a lot of shields, and I've got my flip trick. So he swings with Vezual's Hunters at the Clivex, and I shield it entirely. And if he calls my bluff, which he does, he calls my bluff, which is fine by me, I flip that card, and I decide to put it on the warlord. So I want to start. So I want to get closer to the potential bloodying, potential assassination that this warlord ability gives. So I'm completely out of cards. I decide to swing at Vezual, put another point on there, because the Clivex can survive Vezual swinging back. Although he could retreat with it, but then the Clivex can start making it possible to win this planet even. So he swings the Clivex, I take the 2 points of damage. I know he doesn't have a crushing blow or anything like that. And then I swing back. He does have the drop hot assault, which he loses now, so that's not the end of the world. So we're at 3 points of damage on the warlord already out of 6. That seems pretty solid to me. And now, at this point, I've got 1 hit point left on both units. I've got no shields. It's probably not worth staying. Yeah, I decide to get out of town with that. So he manages to get another card out of Aluith. So I know he's got the Deathwing Terminators, I know he's got the Landspeeder Vengeance, and I know he's got an Honoured Librarian. And now he's got 1 more other card joining his hand, and then he'll draw 2 more at the beginning of the next turn. So I've got 50% of his card in my head. Of his cards are in my head at the moment, and but that's as best I've got of it. Alright, on to Aatrox, which I hadn't really planned ahead with, but is going to be great because I can ping everything in the HQ if I win it, which is going to be really good. He decides not to deep strike anything at this point. That's fine by me. It makes it more likely that I'll be able to kill off, what's his name, veteran brother Maxos, because I know he can't afford to use his ability. So, swing with the Flayed Skull Slavers. He takes the 2 points of damage. And in return, he swings at... my retinue. It's a 2 hit point unit, so he manages to kill it because he knows I've got no shields. Good choice. Next turn it would have been a initiative swing of 3, so it would have been quite good in the next turn. But I know he's got no shields, and then I finish off Maxos. And we're done. That's cool. So Aatrox swings in there, kills off the rogue trader, pings Vezual's hunters, puts another point of damage on Vezual himself. There we go. I feel like that was a pretty good turn. He's now got 2 red and 2 blue, which makes Aatrox a double win condition. But if I can keep him off Aatrox, then I'm not worried about Barlas, because then that would only be 2 green for him. I'll have to keep him off Theron, and then whoever wins the last planet would win. So I get no units again. Archon's Terror, very handy, very useful. And Power from Pain, not so useful because he's got just that extra rogue trader down the end. I put it in there to try and sort of help deal with bigger elite units every now and then. But just not so useful in this particular case. So he throws a couple of cards into reserve at Planet 1. Because it's his win condition, I'm going to have to go there. I don't think I can do anything else. But he's only got a couple of resources left at this point, which I think is promising. He hasn't got any command on that planet, so I will win the bonuses there when my warlord goes there. There we go, I'm going to Planet 1. And he decides to take one of his cards back into hand, which is fine by me again. Clearly he needs the 3 resources for the deep strike. So he has to just do that math and make sure he's going to be able to pull off the deep strike that he wants to. I think my trying to stop him getting resources was definitely the right choice with Vezual, because he's got that alternative card draw. Every time he deep strikes something, he draws a card. So I think stopping him being able to deep strike as many units, as many cards, was definitely the right call there. It means he gets less options. He might not be used to having so limited an amount of cards in his hand. Alright, so I'm going to Planet 1, and so is he. Potentially he could have gone to something like Planet 2 or 3 to try and get some more resources for himself, but I think he wants to try and win it now if he possibly can. So he's putting everything in right now. He's a bit worried that I'm going to get a bit of momentum over him, I think. Another Colosseum fighter, which is fine. Okay. Deep strike. Okay, so let's see what he's got for deep strike. Another copy of Vezual's Hunters, so he's going to ping some unit of mine. He pings the Clivex. I don't particularly want the Colosseum fighters at this point. Yep, so I'm going to shield with them. If the Clivex dies, I'm not too concerned. He takes it. There we go. So that's fine. He calls my bluff. Oh, whoops. I should have put them into the out of play. Oh, yep, there we go. I catch myself. There we go, they're out of play. And the Clivex is dead, but it was exhausted anyway. It only had 1 hit point left. It's alright. And then he manages to draw a card for deep striking. So that's a good, solid choice for him. And then he deep strikes in some Terminator armor, which is very nice. That's a Black Crusade card. It's a 2-cost attachment with a deep strike cost of 1, so it still ends up costing you 2 regardless. You attach it to a Soldier Space Marine unit, I believe. I think it has to be a Space Marine, pretty sure. And it gives it +2 attack and +2 hit points, and it also gives it the Elite trait. So I decide I've got plenty of resources, I'm going to power from pain anyway. He can get rid of his rogue trader, but that means my Archon's Palace is now going to be more potent. But it was probably the best choice he had at that point. And then I'm a bit worried about backlash, but because it's now an elite unit, well, in the Terminator armor, but I need to make sure that 4/4 unit is out of there. So Archon's Terror works very nicely there. Right, so he's now got a 2/1 unit, which I can kill hopefully with either of my attacking units, and his warlord only has 2 hit points left. So this is looking pretty good for me, depending on how many shields he's actually got in his hand. Perfect, the slavers kill off the hunters. See if he's got any events that he wants to use, any actions he wants to use, but I don't think he's got any options there. And he runs. He's got no actions. It's his combat turn, and he simply runs away. Which, good call. Definitely good call. And I'm trying to get, there we go, Aatrox to target the HQ. Puts 1 onto the elite hunters and 1 more onto Vezual, who's now sitting with 1 hit point off bloodied. So if I can just do 1 more bluff card, I can bloody the warlord, which will be really nice. Alright, so we're round to turn 4. I'm not worried about Ballas at all. I don't care about Ballas. It's got no resource bonus, so he's not going to get any resources out of it. I don't care if he gets Ballas or not. He can't win there. I do need to make sure he can't win on Ferrin, which is more important. So Searing Brand's an interesting one. If I was doing well stopping him getting cards, potentially, if I was playing a warlord which was having trouble getting card options, I think it would be really good, because he's going to have to take the damage or discard cards, and at that point he's going to be like, oh, I don't want to discard them. But unfortunately with Vezual and the way it's been going this game, with me stopping him getting resources, he is absolutely fine to discard 2 cards and completely negate my Searing Brand. So it basically will have to be a bluff assassin 2 shield card, and see if I can ping him again. So again, another turn where I'm not able to do any deploy, but he puts out 3 cards into reserve, all on Ferrin, which is going to be that important planet for me. So do I go to Ferrin, or do I avoid it? Oh, it looks like I decide to avoid the trouble that's brewing on planet 2. And he goes there, so he might not trigger them yet, but it's he's setting himself up, putting the hunters onto that good planet. So I'm going to cancel that resources. It's really nice. This has been a great array for the Archon's Palace. Lots of planets that only provide 1 bonus type with a card or resource. But I get a couple of cards out of Ballas, which is nice. Hellion Gang and the Capellite Blackguard. So just a couple of little relatively cheap fighting units. I've chose the Hellions because as flyers they half damage, and if I've halved a big hit and then I can use any card as a 2 shield card, they've got a decent chance of staying alive. I managed to get him to randomly discard the Deathwing Terminators with Ballas. He didn't compete for that at all. And the Capellite Blackguard, they've got no command, which is a drag, but they're a 3 hit point unit, which is nice for only 2 resources. And if I win a battle with them, I take 2 resources off the opponent. So in a game like this game, they would have been quite handy early on. I could have made sure I'm nabbing resources off them all the time. So, battle at Ferrin, he deep strikes a Valkyrie pattern jump axe, simple attachment, attach it to a unit. I'm not sure if it needs to be a soldier or a space marine, but certainly attached to a army unit, and that gains flying. So that's now a 4/4 elite with flying, which is pretty good. It has a deep strike value of 0, so you can always deep strike it. Once you've put it into reserve, it can come up, so that's really quite potent, quite powerful. So he spent 3 cards and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resources for a 4/4 with flying. That's got elite, 1 command. You know, that's probably not actually worth it in a sense, but the options it gives is quite valuable. Alright, so luckily I've drawn into quite a few units and I've got quite a few resources at this stage because I need to stop him from winning Farron. Bit risky, 1 more ambush and I can go home. Yeah, he's aware that it's very close. If I've got something like another Clivex, he could be in a lot of trouble. So, I just start stacking up some units here. Cabalite. Simple little fighter. It's a 2 attack, 3 hit points. I've been trying to hover my mouse over the cards a bit more often as they come in, so you can see them and get used to them. And I'm trying to explain what different cards are and what they can do as we watch. So I'm very aware that people who've never played the game before might stumble across these videos. He puts out a Blood Angel Veteran, good solid Space Marine, 3/3 with 1 command hammer for 3. While it's ready, it negates 1 point of damage, it prevents 1 point of damage. I put out the Incubus Warrior, 2 cost, 2 hammers, 3 attack, 1 hit point. I paid to put my retinue in for 3, which is not great value. I put the Hellion Gang onto planet 2, just in case his warlord goes there, just to get some command there if he doesn't. And then I go to planet 1. When I watch people playing other card games and Octagon games and things, they often don't tell you what the cards do or what's going on, and as somebody who's not actually playing that game and new to it, it can be really annoying because you're like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm hoping that at the moment my commentary gives you at least some idea of what my thoughts are, what my plans are. Okay, so he has 2 command hammers at the planet plus his warlord, and I have 3 ready command hammers plus my warlord, so I do win on planet 1, which means I get the bonus for my Flayed Skull Slavers, which is great. The Hellions win on planet 2, so we get lots of resources for me. 6, I think, actually. Yeah, just counting up all those hammers, making sure. I couldn't target the slavers. So there we go. Heaps of resources, plenty of resources. Now, I'm still very, very worried that he will have a backlash. He's got a lot of lower cost units, but our Terminator armor provides elite, so he knows he's going to get elite units out of it. It's tricky. It's very tricky. So, out come the Vezual's Hunters again, another ping from Deep Strike, that early BAM damage. I think it's only to army units. I don't think they can hit your warlord. I don't think they can hunt you with it in that sense. They can just smash up the various other units. So, he's going for the Incubus Warriors. I'm just looking through all my options, and yeah, I put in the 2 shield. Are you going to call my bluff? He's called most of my bluff most of the time. If he doesn't this time, that's okay. It gives me a 3 attack unit that's still going to be there. Although, I mean, he'll probably go for it, but you know, he goes for it again. Excellent. And this time, 1 unpreventable onto your warlord. Bloodied the warlord. Boom. And he tries to shield with Indomitable, and then he takes that back. And I believe he then tries to play it. Yep, he tries to play it, but it doesn't work. It's after damage is assigned by an attack. Indomitable cancels the damage, but it's not preventable, so it doesn't work. It's not damage from an attack, and Yeah, it doesn't work. And, you know, unfortunately that means I now know he has an Indomitable, which might make a difference, but that's alright. Bloodied that warlord. Excellent. And so next turn, if we get to next turn, he is going to need to get out of the battle really quickly, because if I can kill his warlord in the last battle, obviously that'll be the end of it on planet 7. Just want to check if he drew from that card. Yep, he drew from the first deep strike, then he got bloodied, and now he doesn't after this, so that's fine, we're all caught up. And his other deep strike card in reserve was another Terminator armor, which he puts onto that same unit, or a different unit. Oh, I would have liked him to put it on the same unit. He doesn't, he puts it on the Blood Angels. Good call, spreading your attachments and abilities around like that, especially against Dark Eldar, because you never know when somebody's sitting there with a Archon's Terror burning a hole through his fingers, ready to jump out onto the table. So I decided to go for the Hunters, because they're flying, they'll take more damage to get done, although the Blood Angels effect, one card in hand and it's exactly what I need here. The Blood Angels effect of preventing 1 point of damage as long as they're ready is almost as good as the flying, but I think not quite as good. Okay, so I have initiative. I've got a couple of quite intense units here. Now I've got to try and decide what's the best thing to kill off first. Probably the Hunters, because at least they're dead and they don't swing back, whereas if I swing at the Blood Angels, the Hunters can swing and then the Blood Angels might get to swing again. So I'm hoping I can kill the Hunters. I do know he has an Indomitable. Okay, that's fine. But at least he's used that up now. That means he can't use it on his bloodied warlord, which is an interesting possibility. And he can't do any more. He's got 0 resources. Nothing else. He gets to swing at me. Now, if he swings with the Blood Angels, suddenly they become a lot more vulnerable. But also, they're the stronger hitters. They're the bigger hitters that he's got. So... no, he's thinking, he decides not to. He swings with the Hunters, goes for Liatha's retinue because he can guarantee that they'll be killed. That's a fair call. He knows I've got no cards, no shields. So I use the Blackguard to swing at the Hunters, because he might be able to kill the Blackguard with his Blood Angels. So I want to make sure they get a swing in before that. And it takes them out. Either he has no shields or he's saving his shields up to be as useful as he can make them. Alright, no actions. He decides to take out the bigger hitter. He knows there's going to be a second round of combat and he doesn't want that 3 attack going in against him. Alright. That's his 3rd Indomitable and he uses it as a shield. That's pretty impressive. But I've at least got the 1 point of damage on there now. That's going to be helpful. Alright, he's going to win if I don't stay, so everything has to stay. I need to stop him winning here. I'm looking at the amount of resources I have. I probably could have put the Hellions onto that planet. He decides to leave with the Blood Angels. He doesn't want to let them die. He wants to use as much as he can that big Terminator armored Blood Angel veteran on that last battle. So I take Farron, but there's nothing to rout. The Blackguard would steal 2 resources, but there's no resources of his to steal. Alright, not the most ideal draw, although the Clivex is very useful. Hopefully I can kill off one of those units. But let's see what he's got. Putting a card into reserve. I may as well throw out the Slith Mercenary. There's, why not? And he is done, and so am I. So, just in case you're not sure, I go to planet 1 because it's the only planet available. It is not a win condition for me, except for the fact that it's the last planet. So, oh, everything paused for a second here. What's going on? Oh, must have been a bit of a glitch there. Alright, so I exhaust the units that came in with me. There we go. I win the command, which is, irrelevant really. 14 resources available to me. And what is his deep strike card? Belial. What a fantastic card to finish with. Okay, so this is another Black Crusade card. It's Belial, the commander of the Death Wing from the Dark Angels. He is 5 cost, but he's 4 cost with the Deep Strike bonus. He has 2 command, 4 attack, 4 HP, I think. 1 command, 4/4. He has area effect 1, so he can do area effect damage 1 to everything. After he deep strikes, deal 1 damage to everything at this unit, every other unit or enemy unit at the planet. So everything just got 1 damage and killed off my Colosseum fighters. And then also, if I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly the wording of it, but if he's about to die, you can sacrifice a Dark Angel unit or army unit to put him back into reserve and heal him. He's fantastic, and the great thing with him is he's got my opponent has the initiative, so he is going to be able to swing first and do 1 more point of damage to everything on my side of the board, which will kill 2 of my 4 army units, just like that. So that's intense. No actions. And targets Belial. I'm assuming he's going to, there we go, 1 area effect. So, I lay it all out, and then that kills the Slith, and that kills the Hellion. Oh, that's a really, really nasty hit. And I'm not sure what's my best course of action here. And I decide to throw in the Clivex now. I'm going to use that to kill the Blood Angels. No? Still thinking. No, I go for the Blood Angels. Now I'm wondering if perhaps I should have waited until I had a chance to kill Belial, or wound Belial, sorry, with Liatha. Or if I should go straight for his warlord as soon as I have the chance. Tough decisions. So I kill off the Blood Angels veterans. I decide to go for Belial, because if he retreats with his Vezual, which he probably would do, that's a bunch of damage that was completely wasted. Takes all the damage onto Belial, so I'm hopeful that I can kill him. Alright, done. His warlord can swing. He knows I'm not going to be able to kill him off, so he may as well kill something and then potentially retreat before the next combat round with his warlord. That way he gets to deal some damage, but he also is relatively safe. What's he going to do? What's he got? He's got 0 cards, 0 resources, so not many options amongst his cards, presumably. Decisions, decisions. What's he going to do? And he says, sorry, he had a phone call. Yes, that's alright. Right at the last minute, you know. That's all good. So, call resolved, hopefully. And the visuals exhausts and big tough calls to be made here. This epistolary visual goes for the Kabbalite Blackguard. So they're out. Alright, then my warlord swings, and I'm hoping to kill off Belial with this. And I do, I finish off Belial. That area effect was really, really worrying me. Okay. He's got his flying unit there now, and that's probably going to be enough. Because it's got 1 damage on it, but it's got 4 hit points, and I'm dealing 1 at a time, and it can kill off the Clivex itself. Clivex would have done 2 damage to it, but he had initiative, so the Clivex is out. So I'm going to swing with my slavers. Might as well do as much as I can to him. I decide to go for the warlord, see if I can get a moral victory out of it if he keeps his warlord around. Might be able to, well, it won't be a moral victory. It'll be a win if I could kill his warlord. So he knows this maths. He can do another 2 to my warlord and be quite safe. I'll do 2 more to him. And then we're all ready again, so he knew he was perfectly safe. If I get another swing on his warlord at all, he will die. So he should retreat now. There we go. So he must have had no shields in all 7 of those cards, which is really rough on him. But I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to do 1 more point of damage, and then he'll kill my army unit. Well, he'll kill my army unit, and I'll do 1 more point of damage, and then he'll bloody my warlord. You know, that's going to be really, really, really tight. Let's see. Oh, he does it the other way around. He bloodies my warlord. So off she goes. She's a 2/5 on the other side. And I can do 1 more point of damage. And then we're ready. And he has initiative. So I think I had... Did I manage to get 3 points of damage onto him altogether there? So 1 more point of damage and I would have killed him. Might just be 2. He might need 2 more points of damage. So really close. He's down to 1 or 2 hit points left. And there we go. Good game. And that was his 2nd green planet, but it was the last planet, so that was his win condition. So Liatha, there you go. Have a go with her, see what you think. I think she's got a really interesting playstyle. It's a strange sounding warlord ability, but it played out much more intuitively than I had expected, and I'm really quite keen to try her out some more. Quite like her. Let me know if you think I played it correctly and didn't get anything confused, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're playing some Conquest online or in a local gaming store. You've still got some people keen to play. And let me know what you thought. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.